You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much,
You're
Prof.
welcome. You are welcome. I also have some other news, which is good news. For the final project, you will only be responsible for turning in a presentation. So no paper. Yay.
What was that, Dr. Patricia? No, the
So
panel is
the final project, if you remember, the final project was a paper and a presentation, the team project. So what I've done is I've changed it, so you only have to submit a presentation, no paper, just a presentation.
hey.
All
But
right.
List work.
But
Thank you, Prof.
presentation should be
That's
based
good.
on something, and anyway, we should do some work and papers, even for ourselves.
Yeah, you have to. That's a great point, Ashraf. You have to discuss, you know, all the different components of the business plan. Today, we're going to look at the competitive analysis, where you're going to do, like you said, on paper, you have a grid where you're going to look at your competition and compare, what you do versus what they do. So it's not just here and creating a presentation. Usually a presentation is based on you doing research and a lot of information that you have, but then you bring it into a very succinct format. So yeah, that's a good point. So you still have to do work, but you won't have to turn in a paper. If you turn in the presentation, I'll know that there was some work done in the background. So that's a good point.
Professor, presentation is by group or individual, Professor?
I'm sorry?
When we make a presentation, we need to do presentation only group or by individual?
It's the group.
Thank you, Professor.
It's the group. And we talked about that. I guess we'll talk about it every week. The group will come together. That's why you have those group questions that you ask amongst the group, and you come up with a consensus. And then based on that, that's what you put in the presentation. So the presentation is a group effort. The only thing that you're doing individual is you're doing the weekly quizzes and the weekly
Yes.
questions. Okay?
Thank you, Professor.
You're very welcome. Any other questions?
Yes, Professor. Will we have some sample of presentation, or we can do it as we want, or some rules and?
Yes. If you remember, I shared some templates with you in week 1 and also last week. If you look on the team project in Moodle, you will see a sample presentations.
Okay,
right?
thank you.
So what I can do, let me do this right now. And you can use that presentation, or you can use your own presentation, but there's a template in Microsoft PowerPoint for a business plan. So I'm going to pull it up and to give you an idea of which sections. Whenever you do a business plan, a very important aspect of it is to evaluate your competition, because you want to see what you're offering, how it compares to what the competition has. So if you remember, I talked about the show here called Shark Tank. When you go to investors and you're writing your business plan as if you're going to present it to investors because you need funding for it, they're going to ask you questions such as, who are your competition? Have you identified your competition? And we'll talk about that today, how to do that. And then they also ask, what makes you different from your competition? So you're offering product X. What makes product X different from what this company is offering? So you got to do that kind of analysis. Let me just do let me share my screen and I'll show you what I mean. And I have this template on the team project in Moodle. So make sure that you review it. And I'll just show you a template I got from Microsoft PowerPoint. And you can use any template you want. However, you want to make sure that you have certain things in it. All right. So this is a template business plan presentation that I got from PowerPoint. So this presentation has like the company name. Here, if you want to do a logo, some of you are very creative, you can do a logo there. Then you want to say what your mission statement is, right? What's the long-term mission for your company that you're putting together? Okay. So their help here, try to use words that will help to direct the growth of your company, but be as concise as possible. And if you need to look at other companies' mission statements to see how they state what they're going to do. So the mission statement is kind of saying this is what we're going to do, right? And then you have your team, and we talked about the team. That's why we did the exercise to align team members with, different activities to build and run the business. Okay. Then you want to talk about the market. So the market is your customers, right? You want to target, when you have a business, you want to target a market. You can say, my market is men between the ages of 18 and 65. That's the market that I'm targeting. Or you can say, the market is, men, women, and children who live in this part of the world, or what have you. Be as specific as possible about your market. I'll give you an example. Over in the States and in other places, you have Walmart. Walmart is very commonly known to a lot of people. Walmart has identified their market. And in the States, a lot of people go to Walmart. However, Walmart has identified their market so specifically, they have it down to one person. So their market kind of goes like this. The market is a female between the ages of, let's say, 25 and 55. She has 1 or 2 children. She makes X amount of dollars per year. She lives in this section of the country, because in certain parts of the country, Walmart is more prevalent than others. So you want to really know your market. You want to know your market. You want to take one person and say, this is one person that we're going to serve, and these are the needs that this one person has, and then multiply it by 1,000, 1,000,000, what have you. So be very specific about your market. Because the market, sometimes you have to share the market with other competition. And that's what we'll talk about today, how you can differentiate yourself from your competition. So you're offering something unique, that they might be offering the same product, but you're doing it in a slightly different way. You're going to look at opportunities in the market. We talked about this for a couple of weeks about identifying a niche in the market, or you're going to identify an underserved market. That means that you have a product or service that's going to reach a certain amount of people that has never been reached before. And the example I gave was online delivery, online education delivery, because for a long, long, long time, it was only available to people that were able to come to a classroom and sit in the classroom and learn. And now we've seen the shift in that it's available to everyone who has an internet connection. So you want to look at opportunities. That means that there's a gap. Last week, we talked about a gap analysis. So you want to notice that, we have a bunch of people that are not being serviced, or a bunch of people that don't have access to this specific product. So you want to talk about your business concepts, right? And we've been talking about this for the last few weeks. What's the concept? Okay. What type of strategy are you going to use? Any type of technology that you'll use. You're going to look at your competition. That's what we'll look at today. So you want to summarize the competition and outline your advantage over your competition. One of the things that I noticed here in Georgia, in the States, during the pandemic, when we all had to go inside, I think Georgia went outside before everybody else, if you will. And I remember going to restaurants in April 2020. And of course, we did social distances. There was distancing. There was 12 feet between each table, and you had to sanitize and temperature check. Servers and the chef and everybody had on masks. You had a mask on, and so forth. And what they also did, they switched to touchless um, ordering. Like there was no menu for you to touch. You ordered from a device. Either there was an iPad there, or you scanned the QR code and you ordered from the device, and you did the same thing when you paid. So there was no touching. And I wish that we still had that, where the servers and the chefs, they had masks on and gloves, and they didn't talk over your food and touch it. I wish we still had that. But a lot of companies, restaurants are still doing that now, and that is an advantage over restaurants that don't have the touchless pay and the touchless menu. So you have to find something unique about the business that's different. You're going to list your 5-year goals. Even as a person and personally, you want to be able to articulate what goals you want to achieve between now and 5 years. So the goals should be SMART goals, and we'll talk about that during the course. SMART should be specific, measurable, achievable, and time bound. That means that it's not something that's, general. For example, I'm not sure about your country, but here in the States, at the beginning of every year, everybody wants to get healthy and go to the gym and work out and be healthy. And if you don't have SMART goals, if you don't say that I'm going to go to the gym twice a week or 3 times a week, I'm going to, meet this specific goal in a year, and so forth and so on, it's kind of very difficult to achieve it. So you want to list your goals and objectives. And then the financial plan. And I reviewed that in the first week of class. We will go through this coming up in our lectures, where you want to show for your business the money's coming in to the business and money's going out of the business. And if you remember the first lecture, the company did not make any money, or make a profit, I should say, until 3 months into operations. Sometimes it's longer than that, sometimes it's shorter, but you want to list for 12 months, it's a cash flow, all the money's coming in and all the money's going out. And initially you'll have a lot of expenditures because you're going to buy things and pay people and buy equipment and so forth. You want to identify what kind of resource you need for this business, right? The personnel, the technology, the money, distribution. If you have a product, you have to identify distribution channel. How am I going to get my product to the customer? Promotion. This is where the marketing comes in. How am I going to let people know about my product or service? And then the products and services you have. And then any risks and rewards. You want to, when you do a SWOT analysis, you want to look at the risks. Risks look like threats on the SWOT. So SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. So risks are things that you don't have any control over. Kind of like things that you don't know is going to happen, such as COVID. When COVID happened, it just shut everybody down. You had no control over it. You just had to respond to the risk. So you want to identify the risks and identify how you will address the risk. And you also want to do your expected rewards. I do want to point out here that risks do not have to be negative. They could be positive as well. So when we think about risk, we always think of the negative, like there's a risk it might rain, or a risk that the economy is going to fluctuate. But it can also be, there's a risk that the economy can, rise, and the economy can be positive. There's a risk that the sun might come out today. So risk can also be positive. It doesn't have to be negative. And then any key issues that you've identified in the short and long term. And specifically, if you're seeking funding, you might want to list, we're going to need funding for this specific issue. So this is a good example of what I want to see as a final product from the team. So what you can do with this is you can assign different team members to different aspects of the plan, divide and conquer. So you might have someone, once you come together and talk about the competition, have someone to build the slides for the competition or the marketing and what have you. Any questions about that?
Thanks, everything is clear. Thank you.
Okay. So that's what you're going to be submitting at the end of the class. And team effort.
Professor, may
Yes.
I ask some questions?
Yes.
When we prepare business plans, could you support us any, for example, link or maybe what we need to study more to do the best for our presentation?
Yeah, so if you use the presentation I showed you, you will see the different aspects of the business plan. So today, we're going to talk about your competition, right? So if you
Yes,
look at the
Professor.
business plan template, you'll see a slide about the competition. So last week when we met, I talked about how to identify your key skills and what you bring to the table. So that's what you're going to bring to the slide that talks about who the personnel are and what their responsibilities are and what their experiences are. So that way you can know what to put on the slide. What I can do is I can go back to a slide and kind of tell you what to focus on in the chapter. But every chapter that we're doing in class relates to the final product. We're working towards creating the finished business plan. And everything that we study that week is going to be included in your business plan presentation.
Dr. P, can we use Google Slide? Not only
Can I do-
Microsoft, not only PowerPoint?
Say that again.
Can we use also Google Slide?
Google, yes, of course. Of course.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Because sometimes the Microsoft 365 in our account, sometimes it's hard to work on it.
I understand. Yes, you can use Google Slides, and they have different types of presentation that you can use. Yeah, just consider that you're going to present your business idea to investors, and you need to convince them that you have a great idea and they should reach into their pockets and their bank accounts and fund the idea.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All right, so we're going to go into today's lecture. This is chapter 4, week 4. We are moving along. So let me bring up the presentation for today. And today is all about your competition. So again, pay attention to today's lecture and all the lectures because we're going to talk about your competition, how to evaluate your competition. And don't say you don't have any competition, because what can happen is that even if you don't have competition, you might have someone in business that can quickly pivot and do what you're doing. They have the resources. So there's always competition. Going to share my screen.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What if it's online business and worldwide we have too much competitors? So we should describe all of them or only take the big players, or how to be in this case because it's too much competitors?
Great question. So what you have to do is before you describe your competition, you've got to identify your market, right?
Yes. Yes.
So your market will let you know what competition you have. So if your market is going to be maybe a specific country or a specific product, you might identify a certain age range for that market. because you want to see, because a lot of businesses online, are they serving every individual in the market? So you identify some niche in the market that you can be different from the competition, and that will decrease your number of competitors. So first identify your market, right?
Yeah, so we did it exactly.
And how you're different than all the other competition that is servicing the market. And then you'll notice that, okay, my competition list now is decreased. Now it's not every competitors. Now it's only 4.
Okay, what if, for instance, all competitors has some part of our business, for instance, but we want to make everything in one place, so we combine too much things. So how, in this case, to calculate these competitors? Because nobody is doing all at the same time. They do partially, but we want to do.
I understand. They're doing it. So what you want to do is you want to find, if they're doing partially what you're doing, find the ones that are more closely associated with you, or they could pivot and do what you're doing, because it happens a lot with companies, is that, oh, now this company's doing that, we can pivot and start doing the same thing. So even though they're not doing it right now, it's easy for them to start doing it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I'll give an example. During COVID taught us a lot. Don't sleep on the lessons that we got out of COVID. Companies that made products, liquid products, they were able to pivot and start to make what do you call it? The stuff that you clean your hand, and what do you call the stuff that you spray and clean your hands with?
Sanitizers.
Thank you, sanitizers. I forgot so quickly. There was a time when everybody had that word. So a lot of companies were able to pivot. They weren't making sanitizers. They were making perfume. They were making beer. They were making water. But because they had the infrastructure, they were able to pivot and create sanitizers so that they didn't miss any revenue. A lot of companies, they shut down because, we were making sanitizers now. It's about health. So you got to pay attention to the companies that are able to pivot. So if they see your idea and it's catching on, pay attention to the ones that are able to, oh, this is what we're doing over here. Let's now pivot and offer the same thing. So maybe that could be your list of competitors, the ones that are able to copy you in a short amount of time, even though they're not doing it now. Does that make sense?
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Great questions, by the way. Keep them coming. Okay. Okay, there's another question already. It's very hard to hear you. I think you're driving and it's very difficult to hear.
Is now better?
Yes, that's better.
Yes. My question is that at some types of businesses, we cannot identify all the competitors. For example, there's some businesses that we can do, like, for example, franchise. So we have lots of competitors that exist in the market, or, for example, the restaurant. So the differentiator will be, in this case, the ideas that are going to be presented for the client. In this case, I can't integrate all my clients in the market. That will be very tough challenge.
Yes. So again, you don't want to identify
because
all.
They are of the same type of the business, but they're serving the same value.
Exactly. So yeah, that's a good point, because you don't have to identify every competition. It's the one that's closely associated to what you're doing. They might have a similar market or the same market. They might have the same price point. So they might offer the product for the same price that you're offering the product as. So the competition is going to be someone that's closer to what you're offering. That's what you want to identify. And again, as I said, you want to also identify the ones that, even though they're not doing what you're doing, they could do it. They can pivot quickly and start doing what you're doing. So for example, if you have a product and you say this product, you can see it. I'm going to sell this product for $1, right? And the competition is selling this for, $1.50. It's relatively easy for them to pivot and, restructure their operations and offer it for the same price that you're offering it, even if they're not doing it right now. So think about that in terms of competition. I mentioned before about the restaurants that were touchless, where you go in and you scan the QR code and you order your meal from your phone and you pay from your phone. Even though they may not be doing it, they could do it in a short amount of time. They just need the technology to do it. They need a Wi-Fi that you can connect to, and they bring it there. So again, your market is going to determine who your competition is, because you're going to be serving a specific market, and only specific competition is going to be close to what you're offering. So think about it. And I think you'll get more insight today when we go through the lecture. So if you have questions afterwards, let me know. But I think the lecture is going to give you a lot of insight in what you should be looking for. Okay? So let's go into the lecture today. Let us share the screen so you can see it. And I want to keep track of who's asking questions. Share the screen. And okay. Can everyone see the presentation? Give me a thumbs up if you can. Can you see the presentation? Or you can say, yes, I can, or no, I can't.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So today, excellent, thank you. So today, based on all the questions you're asking, these are the answers that are coming today. Today is part 2 of your text. It is due diligence on the business idea. So this is where we're going to now dive deep into our business idea to see if it's viable. All right, so let me go back here. So we're going to do an external analysis. If you remember, everything we've done so far in the class was an internal analysis. We looked at our team. We looked at the experiences, the personalities, the skills that the team possesses. That was an internal analysis. And if you think about a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, your internal is your strengths and your weaknesses. So your strengths are what you bring to the table, and your weaknesses are what you lack. And we did an exercise where we showed last week a gap analysis. Like, we need specific skills to open a restaurant. We need chefs to cook the food. And then we looked at our existing personnel, and we determined that we had no chefs. So there was a big gap. We would have to, hire a chef and so forth. So that would be a weakness. We need a chef, but we don't have one. So the internal analysis in terms of the SWOT, strengths and weaknesses. External analysis is opportunities and threats. And we're going to look at opportunities and threats today. We're going to look at opportunities include situations where you can partner with another entity. A lot of times, especially if you go to an international market, you want to partner with a company that's already existing in that market, so you can get to know the market. They know the market better than you do because they are in that country. So you want to partner with them. So that's an opportunity. A threat would be competition, like we've been talking about all morning. Your competition. That means that they are a threat to your revenue. They can take your customers. They can undercut you in price. They can put you out of business. So that's why it's important to identify your competition and also to identify what strategies you have in place to ensure that you stay competitive. So let's go. We're going to describe how to examine the industry that your new business wants to enter into. So whether the industry is the food industry or medical equipment or technology or health, what have you, you want to examine it. You're going to discuss how to create a profile of your target customers. Your target customers is your market. You're going to explain how to categorize your competition. So we're going to use a tool to put them in categories. And this is how you're going to drill down to your closest competition. We're going to look at the competitive maps and how to construct them and what data points to look at. We want to make sure that you have considered all the concerns that you need to address, because your investor will ask you about, and that's the issues that I showed you on the PowerPoint slide, on the last slides, is are there any issues? And if there are, how do you plan to address those issues? So those issues can also be risks. So risks from the SWOT analysis, those are threats. So finally, we're going to look at those elements that provide a competitive advantage, which we talked about earlier in our discussion. This is what makes you different, better than your competition. You have an advantage over them because you are, for example, offering touchless pay and touchless ordering, or you have an advantage over the restaurants in your neighborhood because you deliver food from the restaurant. So we're going to take a look at that as well. All right. This is basically the same thing. So let's go. You're going to define your industry. You want to be as specific as possible. You want to know, what industry am I in? So make sure that you're putting your industry on your presentation. We're in this industry: food, we're in medical equipment, we're in real estate, we're in technology. Identify your industry and then be specific. If you talk about technology, which is broad, you might want to, become you be less broad, more specific, and say medical technology or sales technology. So let's say, for example, you're going to open an ice cream store. Yummy, yummy. You want to find out what industry does the ice cream store compete in. So looks like food, could be food. It could be more specific, restaurants, even more specific, ice cream stores and so forth. So you want to decide, am I going to have an ice cream shop? Am I going to be in the supermarket? Or am I going to be in a restaurant? You want to be specific about where you are in that industry. And as I mentioned earlier, this specificity is going to let you know who your competition is. So if you have an ice cream shop, are you competing with grocery stores that sell ice cream? My experience in ice cream shops is that they're more pricey than the ones in the grocery stores. So you have to identify that your market, your customers like to eat ice cream in an ice cream store as opposed to eating it at home. Is your ice cream high end? Like you have the high end ice cream that costs more? Is it low fat, high fat? Is it other type of milk? Is it soy milk or almond milk. So you want to get specific about that. And if you notice that the more specific you get, the more you're moving competition away from, your competitive analysis, because fewer people are competing there. Okay. So you want to define your industry. Make sure that is on your presentation. Okay. How do you gather information? Some of you are doing that already. You're conducting online search. You have magazines for the industry or journals, and you have associations. So, and all these can be online as well. All of these you can search for online. So you have online magazines. One of the magazines that I write articles for is a business magazine. So it's for business leaders. So that's what it means by industry magazine. For your industry, what magazines are out there? So you want to, they have a lot of information in them. They can tell you about what the current trends are, if you will, what new regulations there are that makes you have to pivot or shift your operations and so forth. And then once you go into business, you do want to be connected to these associations. You want to be, members, so you can network with other businesses in the industry. So in the US, we have a North American, I should say not in the US, but in North America, we have the North American Industry Classification System, NAICS. And that is where the government publishes data about specific industries. So you can see in your industry who your competition is. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at the NAICS code via this hyperlink. So let's say, for instance, I want to go into ice cream. So it shows you all of the industries that's related to ice cream. Okay. So let's go down and see what else we got here. So lots of different industries. So you've gotta really become specific. All right, so let's see what else we have here. Got soft drink, wineries, a lot of things related to ice and cream, because I've got two words. All right, so let's say we want to do ice cream and frozen dessert manufacturing. We're just going to say that for now. We dig into it, and we see the companies that make ice cream and frozen dessert. These are the top businesses based on sales. So you get a lot of information here about those businesses. And then I'm going to click into one of these in a minute, but you can see what they're engaged in: frozen bakery products, frozen cakes, pies, and other pastries. They make ice cream and ice milk, and they have related NAICS codes. And then I can go down to the related codes. They make tofu frozen dessert. So if you don't want dairy milk. So if you want to say, so these are the top ones in terms of sales. Let's take a look at Mars. See what they look like. So it gives you the company. This is an identifier for businesses in the United States, DUNS number, that you apply for when you create your business. They've got their address. They don't want you to call them because they're very busy. That's their website. Number of employees, 300 on site. The rest is virtual, it looks like. This is their sales volume, 21 billion. They're publicly traded. They started in 1911. This is how you get to them via a drone, latitude and longitude. So it shows you their related code, and it shows you if they're family members. We talked about having family members work in your business with you. It could be good, it could be bad. So this just goes to show you a profile so you can understand who your competition is. Okay. So let's get back to the presentation. You want to drill down into the code to see specifically what your industry is, and then you drill down to who is in your industry and so forth. So this is the way to identify your competition. Okay. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. So that's a code that you can click and see. In terms of you want to think about national versus local in terms of your business. So if you're going to have a business that needs a location, so it's not virtual, it's a location, then you want to see the type of construction that's going on. We know that construction slowed down because of the recession. However, it varies from state to state. I will tell you, in the state that I live in, Georgia, the construction is alive and well. A lot of construction going on. It's like if you see a green tree, you got to cut it down and build something. So it's a lot of construction. So what you might want to look at is the number of building permits issued by different states, right? So that you can get an idea of where you stand in terms of I want to build an ice cream store, and in the area that I plan on building it, is it viable? Let me see. Get into it. All right, I'll check on this during the break. But you want to see in the States, if you want to construct a building or even make changes to an existing building, you need to have a building permit. So these are things you're going to list in your business plan, the type of resources you need. You might need the building permit if you have a physical location. So defining your industry, notice there's a 2 next to it. You want to put that in your business plan. So you should define it broadly enough to include potential in competitions. So it's not all competition, it's potential. And be clear about how they are a competition. And we'll see that when we do the map. Be clear about why this company is a competition to you. Okay. And also, if you're saying my business is going to be online, even though it's online, sometimes it's relegated to a specific geographical area. So when you have a website, you can do analytics on your website, and it's free, Google Analytics, and it tells you the people that are visiting your website, the ones that are purchasing things, and where they're coming from. And this is going to let you know, oh, most of my customers are in this part of the world or the country. So let me now focus more on these individuals, or let me focus on bringing other people in. So you want to make sure that you are sure about your geographic customer base. Okay. So the industry is companies within a specific geographic radius that will be in direct competition for the same customers as that of the new business. So these are people that are going to be in direct competition to your business. And I mentioned, I think we're going to talk about this in a minute. I'll save it for then. So you want to define a very narrow group of individuals who you believe will be your customers. And that's what I said earlier about Walmart knowing their customer. It's the female, it's between this age. They're making this amount of money. She has this amount of children. You want to be very specific about your customer. Okay. And you want to focus on the core customer, because you can have different groups of customers. You can have a core customer, you can have a secondary customer. You want to focus on who the core customer is, the one that's willing and able to purchase your product or service. You want to maintain a strategic distance from your competition. That means that you want to be able to maintain whatever strategic advantage you have over them. You want to maintain that. So if you are in a market where you're saying that we're going to be price leaders, that means that our price is going to be lower than the competition. Make sure that if your competition closes in on the pricing, that you have something in place to make further reduction or to make the price viable for the consumer to buy. Because consumers are not always price conscious. Some consumers are looking more for quality than price. So you want to make sure that you still have that strategic distance from your competition. You're always seeing what they're doing, and you are making sure you maintain the strategy you have. And you want to control your expenses because you want to make a profit. That's why you're in business. So you don't want to say, well, they're reducing their price, so let's reduce our price, and then you're incurring losses because you're reducing the price. You might want to highlight, they're reducing their price, but our product contains, vitamin C, which boosts your immune system, where everybody needs that now, or something like that, so that you're still able to maintain your price. So again, you want to identify the competitors who directly compete for the same customers. Okay. So you want to do your research. You're going to get insight. You're going to become an expert in that industry. And then you're able to build your plan and build your business with that competitive advantage. So that's what you have when you do the analysis of your competition. You're going to say, yes, this is the competition, but here's the advantage we have over them. This is what we're doing unique that they're not doing. Got to know your market. So in this picture, we see a golf course. So if you're building a golf course, know your market. Okay. Know what types of activities you want to control. When you build a golf course, obviously the land is already there. Can't do much controlling over that. But in terms of the equipment and the activities around golf, sometimes people play golf and at the end they want to go have a beer or what have you, or maybe they have children that they want to be nearby as they play golf, and you offer a playground and activities for the children and so forth. So you can do a lot with the land that's already there. So you're going to define your competitors. Okay. So identify competition. So we're talking about a golf course here. And this is physical, it's not virtual. In this golf course. I know you can play golf in the metaverse and so forth. But so if you're a golf course, you're going to look at all the different golf courses in a reasonable distance, like 20 minutes. Like people don't want to drive an hour to go to a golf course. So you're going to say, well, 20 minutes is where the customer is going to drive. So you're going to look at the competition within 20 minutes of where your proposed golf course is. And then you're going to look at your competition you're going to look at your competition within that radius. So notice that your competition now is not every single golf course in the world. It is golf courses within 20 minutes of your golf course. And that's how the list becomes smaller and more specific. So we have what we call fragmented markets, in which no one competitor has the bigger share of the market. And I mentioned to you maybe a couple of weeks ago that in Georgia, near me, we have what we call a car city, where all the different car manufacturers are in the same place. I think they have about 10 to 15 different manufacturers. And the reason why is because they're serving different markets. So you might have Jeep Wrangler that sells SUV, where you have another manufacturer that has sports cars, or one that has sedans, some high-end, some are affordable. So the market is fragmented. So when you think about autos, no one manufacturer has the entire market. So there's space for different competition because there are different needs. So let's look at the competitive map. It's a tool that you use to organize information about your competition. Again, this is what you're going to put on your business plan. Okay, so why do you want to develop the map? It's less expensive. You can have people do it, but it's going to give you more knowledge about your competition, and it's going to give you insight on how to position yourself, how to price what you're doing, and how to lay out your facility. So we're still talking about the golf course. So you would visit them, and I don't mean, when I say visit, I mean go online and find information. You don't have to drive up to the business, find out what you can, look at the reviews, look at Yelp, because sometimes these reviews will tell you what they're not doing, and that could be a gap that you can swoop in and fill that gap. If they say that, this restaurant, the customer service is really bad, but the food is great, then your competitive advantage could be like, we have the best customer service. Our servers are trained, they're retrained during the year. They have to pass certain tests in order to serve and so forth. Now you have a competitive advantage over them, even though they're doing the same thing that you're doing. So you want to get a list of criteria that you want to, take away from each visit and record it. So this is what you would do. This is an example of a competitive map. You would have, so in an 8-mile radius, which is about 20 minutes. Is that 20 minutes? 8 miles. Depends on how fast you drive, but let's say it's 8 miles. So you want to look at the population in that area. How many people live in that area? How many households are in that area? What the average income is? Average age, the number of driving ranges. So a competition for a golf course is can also be a driving range where you just go to hit balls. You're not going the 9 holes or the 18 holes, you're just hitting the balls. So that could be competition as well. And the number of golf shops in the area. So sometimes you have a golf course that doesn't have a golf shop. Rare. So you want to identify all this stuff. And then you want to look at all your competition. So competitor 1, what's the population in their area, the number of households, and so forth and so on. And do up to 4 or 5 is good. All right. Number of customers per weekday. And you can find the stuff online with your research, because a lot of the stuff is published. Sometimes you can call and, if you're a student, what I found out, if you're a student, you can get a lot of information from people. I'm a student, I'm in an MBA program. I want to find out how many customers you get per weekday. They're happy to answer it because they know you're not a competition. You're a student. Number of customers per weekend. That could be a strategic advantage where you offer more discounts during the week because it's less busy during the week. So you have more people coming in, driving your revenue. A lot of people play golf on the weekend. So you want to look at that. The average number of customers per hour, the peak flow of the customers, and the average charge per transaction for all of your competition. Again, the golf course. The tee charge, peak and off peak, they charge you to tee off. How the clubhouse feel, how the course feels, if they have menu offerings in the clubhouse and on the course. Sometimes they offer food on the golf course. So that's how you would do your analysis. You want to also look at any kind of substitutes. As I mentioned before, a substitute for a golf course could be a driving range. I don't have to go to a golf course and do 18 holes. I can go to a driving range and just practice my swing. All right. Elasticity of demand, we'll look at what that means. That means demand will increase or decrease based on price. Ease of entry or exit. So if you're manufacturing ice cream, it's very difficult to enter it because of all the infrastructure and also the exit. What could you do with an ice cream manufacturer? You kind of, specifically you have to do that. And then we can talk about benchmarking and industry trends. So let's look at substitutes. Those are products that are similar to yours, but not exactly. So be aware of potential substitutes. Okay. So recognize that if your price is too high, they can switch to substitutes. Okay. And this helps you to realize what the maximum price is that you can charge for your product or service. Elasticity of demand is consumers' response to price changes. So if luxury price items increase, demand will decrease because luxuries are not necessities. So that, I don't need this if it's too high. So something like toilet paper or milk or bread, even if you raise the price, there are not a lot of substitutes, and it's not a luxury item, it's a necessity. So people will still buy, the bread and the milk. Gas for your car, kind of inelastic, because if you got to work, you got to drive your car. So it doesn't mean you'll stop buying gas. Now you might start to do public transportation, but be aware of how price changes can impact your consumer response to your product or services. Exit barriers is how easy can you leave an industry? So for example, if you're a golf course, it's relatively easy to leave because you don't have to take the land with you, right? You can do something else with the land. But as I said, if you're making ice cream, it's relatively hard to exit that industry because of all the equipment that you have in place. So let's look at some companies that are easy or hard to enter or exit. Clothing store, high exit. You got a lot of inventory. How do you get rid of the inventory? How do you get rid of the inventory? You got to start to discount, and you'll see these sale signs going out of business, last chance. They have a mattress store in my area, and they're always going out of business. They've been doing it for years, but it's a way to get you in there, but sharp discounts to get rid of the inventory. I talked about the golf course, low exit barrier. The land can be converted to something else. Okay. So if you're able to exit a business easily, you limit your competition and you reduce the threat. So because you can exit quickly and do something else, right? Benchmarking means that you're looking outside of your industry for a particular skill that you need for your business. So what it does is, when I looked at the NAICS codes and we looked at Mars, you can see what they're doing, how they're competing, why they're successful, and scale that to your business. And as I said earlier, most companies will share knowledge with you as long as you're not not competition. So, when you call them as a college student, they're glad to help you out. But if you're a pizza shop calling another pizza shop, and you're saying, I'm calling from this pizza shop, I want to know about your business, they're not going to tell you. And neither would you. So you want to benchmark, you want to learn from other businesses what you should expect for your business. You want to also look at trends. So in the US, we're moving to self-service. So everything is self-service. As I talked about, the touchless service in the restaurants, where you use your phone to access the menu, to order your items from the menu, and to pay. So the only thing they're touching is the food that they're bringing to you. They're not touching your credit card. They're not touching the menu. You're not touching the menu and so forth. So if you know that there's a trend as self-service, you want to take advantage of that and build your product or service around that trend. Okay. Healthy restaurants is also a trend. People want to be able to eat better, especially over here. We eat horribly in the US. Horrible foods, a lot of fat content and a lot of fake stuff in the food that is allowed in the food over here as opposed to other countries. So people now are more health conscious because they know that they've got to take their health into their own hands. They can't depend on the government to regulate. You got to regulate yourself. So your competitive advantage, which you want to put in your business plan, is what edge do you have over your competition? What are you doing that they're not doing? What are you doing better than what they're doing. Okay, so this is the last step in the external analysis, understanding your competitive advantage. Why would they come to you and not to their competition? This is the question that's asked on the Shark Tank all the time. Why would I buy your product or service? I can buy it from XYZ competition, and then you have to have an argument as to why. Okay. So how to find out your competitive advantage? Look at the type of product or service you provide and look at the structure. Maybe you're in a certain location. Maybe you're open 24/7 and so forth. So these are sources of competitive advantages. Okay. So you can look at normal or ordinary factors is describing areas that are standard business. Like if you're in a restaurant, service is standard. So you want to look at, we're going to offer high quality service, higher quality. We're going to have our servers in uniforms, a different color for each day of the week, something like that. Then you can look at unusual or unique. So these are competitive factors that are not what, the other businesses do. Okay. So this is the evaluation of resources and capability. This is normal, storefront, tables, chairs, floor covering, lights, etc. This is unique, small and intimate. Instead of tables, you have tile on the tables. Instead of chairs, you have roller cushion chairs. Instead of floor covering, you have tiles. Instead of just regular lights, you have mood lighting. Instead of a cash register, you have card swipe machines at each table, and so forth and so on. So these are normal resources, and this is where you can say, this is where we have a competitive advantage over them, because we're offering this as opposed to just this. These are the basics. Okay. If you look at resource-based analysis, it's where you have a product or service that how it functions is better or different than how your competition uses it. And I'll show you an example. So you have an unusual product or service that is rare, that's durable, that you can't find a substitute for, and is valuable. So this is how you look at your product or service. It's rare, it's durable, there are no substitute for it or very little substitute for it, and it's very valuable. So this is how you can look at your product. Okay, so that is the end of chapter 4. I'm going to ask if there are any questions. I believe that a lot of questions were answered in this lecture that were asked earlier, but let's just see if there are any additional questions before we take our break. We're about to take our half-an-hour break. Let me stop sharing. Stop sharing. Okay. Any questions or comments about chapter 4?
Dr. P, can I have a
Yes.
question?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my question is, you can see that even there's lots of competitor, but they still operating.
Yes. You can, yeah. As I said before, and I use Car City as an example, lots of competitors, but they're unique. What you're offering is unique and different from what they're offering. So that, if I'm in Car City, lots of competition, but I need a Jeep, so I'm going to go to a certain car place. Or there is enough people in the market that, even if we sell in the same car, there's enough people in the market that will buy the car, so we're still in business. So that could happen as well. So the market is going to have a lot to say about your competition. So you can say, something like toilet paper. Everybody can sell toilet paper because everybody needs toilet paper. So you can offer the same exact product and people will buy it from you or this other company and so forth. Okay, yes?
Okay.
Okay, is there another question? No other questions? Okay. Let's resume at 11.
Listen to specific music anytime you like. Just say try Amazon.
That's Alexa. She thinks I'm talking to her.
To play.
Or it thinks I'm talking to it. Let's resume at 11:41. Okay?
Oh, wow, it's a long break.
It's 30 minutes, right?
Yeah, it's very long.
Is that too long?
Yeah, can we have 10 minutes so that we have time also to do some other work?
If everybody agrees, raise your hand if 10 minutes is enough time for you. Minutes. Okay. All right. So let's do that. Let's resume in I'll say 15 because some people are going to raise their hand. Let's say 15 minutes and we'll come back and you have more time to work in with your team and individually. Is that fair?
Okay.
Yes, Professor.
All right. I'll see you in 15. All right.
Thank
Okay.
you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Hopefully everyone is back from your break. I'm going to open up the rooms now for you to discuss Chapter 4's business plan development questions. And I'll post the questions in the room as well. So you're going to use these questions to help you develop the business plan. So rooms are being opened and you'll be assigned to your rooms. Okay, I'm here back in the main room. Let me see what room you're in. Lizette. I think you have 2 sign-ons. You have a guest sign-on and something else, and I think you're in your other login is assigned to a team. So let's use the other one. You seem to be logged on with 2 devices. Can you hear me, Lizzie?
Yes, I hear you.
What team were you in before?
4 international partners.
Okay, let me. So I have you here twice. I'm not sure which is the right one, so I'll just do it. And so you have 3 logins, and I think that's what's confusing, because one of you is in international partners, but the other 2, which says guests. So do you have 3 devices that are connected?
No, only one, only from computer.
Maybe it wasn't signed in. All right, let me just put you back. So I'm going to put both of you. There are 3 of you in the class, so there must be triplets. So I'm assigning you to international partners.
Mm-hmm.
So you should be able to hop over there.
Okay.
Let me know. It's assigning.
So how about in my team? Am I alone?
Yeah, I was in the team rooms conversing with you, but I think you left and came out here. Let me just make
I'm
sure
alone, so
Lizzie.
maybe
Let me make sure Lizzie is in her room. Give me 1 second. Okay, Julian, I'm back. So we got her situated. So let me check who's in your team. Give me 1 second, okay?
Okay, no problem. Take your time.
Okay, so we have, you said you're in
Team
stranger,
one.
but so
Yes, because we changed the stranger blast to jumps.
stranger blast.
Because
Okay, that's what I'm
that's
looking
what
for.
we
Okay.
agreed. Yeah.
So I see you. I see Atanuk is supposed to be in your team, and I see Muhammad. Muhammad did send me a message. That's what I was reading to you, that he had an emergency, so he wasn't able to attend today. Then we have Saif, and we have Samia, and I don't see them in class today. Were you guys when you were collaborating last week, were they in the team room with you?
Yes, we are in that room.
They were in the room last week,
Yes.
so they're just not in
And
it.
I can read your message there.
Mhm.
But why I'm alone? Maybe I will go in a room.
No, your team is not here today. So what I'm asking you is last week when we had class, were they in the room with you last week?
Yes,
Oh, they were.
but
Everybody?
I'm late. No, because I'm late.
They should still be in the room. You're automatically assigned to your room. So let me give me 1 second here. Let me just check the attendance to see if they're hanging out, okay? Okay, so last week, for the your group activity, you were to develop a competitive map. So if you did not develop one, you can do so. And let me share my screen as to what that looks like, just to remind you what we looked at today. So you said you've identified your competition, which is good. That's the first part. So what you would do, and this is for a golf course, so it's going to be different. You would just list your competition here. And then these are things
Actually,
that
that
you
was
would,
today. This one was today.
right, but I'm saying that you should do this today and then list your competition, and then this will be different in terms of here because you're not a golf course. It's whatever business you are, but you want to look at certain criteria such as a population, um, household, income, and so forth and so on. And then just do like two competitions for the competitors for the individual exercise. So use this as a guide in the team to develop the map, and then from the map, then you can do your individual exercise. Does that make sense?
A little bit, yes.
Okay, what don't you understand?
Because so we will be using this map to work on our individual.
So you're going to use the map in the team. You're going to create the competitive map because that's going to be part of
Okay.
the business plan. That's the team. And then
Yes.
from what the team develops, you're going to use the first competitors and, what additional items do you want to add? What areas of competition do you want to add to your map and so forth?
Okay.
Once you do that, then you write the 2 to 3 page description. I would say 2 to 3 paragraphs and not pages, because that's coming into, that'll be for the business plan. Let me say paragraphs here instead of pages. So 2 to 3 paragraph. You will have a lot more detail in the business plan when you put your plan together as a group, but for the individual exercises, just do 2 to 3 paragraphs.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing about the individual exercises says develop a map around campus. Obviously, you're virtual, so you're not on campus. So I would do a map of the restaurants in your community. So the question on the individual exercise that says develop a competitive map for the restaurants around campus. You want to develop a map for the restaurants around your community. Does that make sense? Class, does that make sense to you?
Yes.
One
About
person.
around the community, yes.
Yeah, not around campus because you're not and then you're going to do the same thing. This is going to give you a lot of experience in competitive maps. And I will say to you around your community, people pay big money to have someone develop a competitive map for their business. So that could be a skill that if you understand what goes into the map, that's a skill you can bring to the table and put on your resume. I can develop a competitive map for a business or for an industry. So keep that in mind. That's a skill set that you can put on your resume. On your resume, you want to put items related to business, like, develop competitive map, competitive analysis, industry analysis. These are the things you can put on your resume. This is why I'm having you do this stuff in class, because it's going to serve you well outside of class. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Other questions? All right, I'm going to give you some time to start working on this. I think I discuss in class. So what I'm going to do is I've been teaching online for many years, as I said to you before. So I just want to let you know, as we're going into our 5th week, we're getting there. Almost going to be halfway through. Let me explain to you how the team projects are going to be graded. So the team projects require collaboration from all team members, right? Since I'm not sitting there with you to see what you're doing and who's doing what, one of the things I do is I have these rooms so you can go in and collaborate, and I jump from room to room to see what you're doing, which kind of helps. I understand that this time everyone can't get on the call, but most of you have, so kudos to you for that. So this is how your grade for the team project is going to be. And I'm going to send you this form that I've developed. I'm going to ask each team member to evaluate every member on your team under different criteria. So one of the criteria could be communications. How is Patricia Anderson in communicating as a team member? And you'll grade them from 1 to 5. 1 means low, 5 means excellent. You'll do the same thing for every team member in terms of communication. So another category could be collaboration. You'll grade every team member on collaboration. Another criteria is timeliness. That means that if a team member is given an assignment or a deliverable, they do it within the time frame specified. So I have about 4 to 5 criteria that you will assess each of your team members and yourself. And at the end of the class, I will look at the aggregate tally of the assessment for each team member, and I will assign an individual grade to each team member. So you will not be getting a team grade. So everybody on the team will not get the same grade. Your grade will comprise of your participation in the team activities, your collaboration, your communicating, your timeliness in the team collaboration. And that, based on my experience of teaching, is the only fair way to grade team projects. Does everyone understand that?
Yes.
I do.
Thumbs up if you do.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I will say to you, we have several opportunities to collaborate on the team. We've got this time that we spend together on Sundays, and you have the team forum in the classroom. And then you also, a lot of you are using WhatsApp. And what I did was, to the best of my ability, I assigned teams that were close in terms of time zone. So you're not in a team with someone that's 10 hours ahead or behind, so that you can collaborate real time. So you have opportunities if you can't collaborate in one platform, you can collaborate in other platforms. But I want it to be fair, and we're all adults here. And at the beginning of the class, remember I talked to you about we're going to be adults, right? So we know what we have to do and we do it. And on the job, I have and you have experience where some team members are not carrying their weight, but you have a project that has to be done. You have to answer to the client. There's a date and it has to be done. So we're going to do this to ensure that the project does move forward, that you don't stop because someone's not participating. You want to make sure that you are assigning deliverables to each team member. And you may not be able to do all of it today, but as we get to like week 5, 6, and so forth, you've already assessed what your skills are. You assessed what's needed for the business plan presentation. So what you want to do is start assigning different pieces of the plan to different team members. You'll collaborate to talk about what it is, but in terms of assigning them to complete it, you're going to do that as well. So it'll be very fair and equitable, and we'll ensure that the people that are doing the work are fairly assessed. Okay? Any questions about that? Okay. So
No question in my part.
okay, Judalyn, thank you for that. I'm thinking that everybody else is saying yes because they're saying nothing. Or no questions. So do you want to we've got 15 minutes left. Do you want to go back to your room to do the do a quick competitive map so you know what to write in your individual assignment?
For me, because I'm alone, maybe I'll just take it as my day is done.
Okay. The rest of the team, do you want to reconvene with your team to build out, based on the conversation you had today, you should have the information for a competitive map. So it's just a table and the different things about your competition. Do you want to rejoin your team to work on that? Or do you want to just do it individually? I need responses, so I need you to respond as to what is preferred. Do you want to go back to your team and build out the competitive map, or do you want to do it individually?
Better to have in the time to make it individually after we review this the lecture today.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Ashraf, for responding. So I'm going to if you want to spend the rest of the time to work on the individual assignment, I will allow you to for that. If you want to sign off because we took a shorter break today, you can do that as well. If you want to hang around and ask me questions, I'll be here until the top of the hour. So if you want to say sayonara for the day, have a great Sunday and have a great week coming up. Anyone that wants to hang around and ask me questions, you can. And Dania, I saw your message, so if you want to hang out, I'll be able to just catch you up on what's going on.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great week.
Thank you. And bye, Professor.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
Professor.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Have a good day.
You too. You too.
See you
Thank
next week. Bye. Thank
See you
you.
next week. Bye-bye.
I have a question, Professor, if you can help me for that. That is
Yes.
regarding using of the industrial nice
Yes.
for the website.
Yes.
Actually, I'm trying to search for my some certain product, but I couldn't find.
Mhm.
They mentioned there are some other way that by using the name of the company, then I can take their code and use it.
Yes.
How can I make it? I'm trying to make it, but I
Do
couldn't
you
make.
have do you have a company in mind?
Sorry?
Is there a company in mind that you're looking for?
Yeah.
All right. Is it a North American company?
It's a German company, but I think it is located also. There is a branch in North America. I believe so.
Okay. What's the name of the company?
Aluco Bond.
Could
Actually,
you
the product that I'm looking for is aluminum composite panel, but I couldn't find this one.
could you put that
So
in the
I
chat?
tried to.
Put it in the chat so
Okay.
I can look it up. Because sometimes it may not be in that specific, you got to go broader to find it.
This is the product.
Okay. So let me go ahead and share my screen. I think I was sharing. What was I sharing? Oh, the same screen. Okay. Let's go here. And let me go to the chat. Aluminum composite panel. So I'm going to use the first two words. And I might just go to aluminum just to go broader.
Mhm.
So I would go here and look at
Oh.
anything that looks like it.
None of them actually. I didn't. I review all the results, but none of them describing the product in a real description.
Did you search for these two words only?
This is the product name. This is the
No,
product
search.
name.
Yeah, do these two words and don't put the panel at the end. Just do this because you might have a broader category that includes the panel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is actually what happened. That's giving everything, including the panel. I think the easy way to get it that I pick the name of one of the famous company
Okay.
so that I can identify their SIC number
Okay.
from that one. That famous company, I can write it to you, is Aluco Bond.
So we can do company lookup over here.
Yeah, I wrote it for you on the chat. This is the name of the company.
So this is not, if it's not a, when I say a North American company, that means that it's either founded here or it's got a significant presence here, not just a branch, if you will.
Ah, yes, there.
So there you go. And then it tells you their code right there. So it's electronic computer manufacturing. That is the industry that it's in. So this is a broader code.
Okay, so I have to pick up this SIC code and to
So 334111. So this is the code 334111. And this one as well. They're in two. This one and this one.
Okay, like this.
Let me see if I can
Yeah, it's clear.
you have it?
Yeah, I got it. So now I can track it with this number.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's see. Dania has left. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? I can respond to Dania privately.
Okay, thank you, doctor. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye. Okay, if there are no questions, everyone have a great week. And I'll see you in the classroom, or I'll see you here next Sunday. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Professor.
You're welcome.